You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Now on the Mo Kelly Show, it's Tiffany Hobbs, the viral load. She'll speak of all the viral things social media can bring. Facebook, Insta, X, TikTok, the viral load with Tiffany Hobbs. Viral load, viral load, the viral load. Viral load with Tiffany Hobbs.
KFI AM 640, live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. It's Later with Mo Kelly, and this is the Viral Load with me, Tiffany Hobbs. This week and last week, there's been a lot of content uploaded all over social media. Obviously, people are keeping track of what's going on with the fires that are ravaging Southern California. And also, aside from that, there's content that continues to be uploaded in anticipation of this looming TikTok ban. Well, all of that content has been coalescing into what has made it out to be a very busy week in social media. And because we've seen such devastating images and so many really disheartening and sad posts online from these fires, I wanted to start today's viral load off with something extremely heartwarming. So you may have seen it. It's been all over TikTok. It's been all over Instagram, Facebook. You might have been sent it in an email. But regardless, what I am going to share with you is extremely uplifting. It is very emotional. The first time I saw it, I absolutely cried. And then because I'm a glutton for punishment, I watched it again and again. And each subsequent time, I got emotional. Here's the story. A man, unfortunately, was separated from his two dogs during the Palisades fire. He's caught on video by a news reporter who is at the bottom of Sunset and Temescal Canyon as this man is trying to get back to his home while his block is on fire, or at least the fire is approaching. The man interviews with this reporter, and the reporter asks, how can you get to your dogs? And the man says, I can't, I'm being stopped. I'm being told I can't get up there because of the fire. And he's just having a full-on breakdown emotionally. Understandably so. I would too. My first instinct would be to go back and get my fur babies. Well, this man tries everything. He gets a bike. He tries to get up the hill, and he's stopped. 5 days of searching online for his missed pets came up empty. He is able to recover one pet during that 5-day period, but the other pet, a little small dog named Oreo, was still unaccounted for. On the 5th day, this man, and his name is Casey Colvin, he's able to make it back up to his home. And this is what happens. There's audio, but I'll introduce it first just so we can kind of have a picture, a visual. Casey goes back up to his home. He stands outside of his gate. He has a dog toy. There are cameras all around because they're following this man's story. It's a human interest story. Casey Colvin squeaks the toy, and this is what you hear.
Wow. Awesome, man. Yay. Man. Wow.
Picks his dog up and is reunited with his loved, very loved, and missing for 5 days, very resilient dog, Oreo. And as you can hear there, it is extremely emotional. Casey is crying. It's just the reunion that people needed to see, myself included. There's more to this story. So the reason that Oreo was able to survive so long is because a very thoughtful and compassionate firefighter, who actually ended up being a battalion chief named Brent Pascua, left open Casey Colvin's doors to his home and his windows. And that was in anticipation of the fire reaching that block. Because of this battalion chief's heroic efforts, because of his forward thinking, the dog Oreo was able to get back into the house, outside of the house. He wasn't confined inside. He was able to leave, and he was spotted in a neighbor's yard. And that's when neighbors alerted Casey Colvin to the fact that Oreo was still alive. After the reunion caught on camera, Casey Colvin was able to meet battalion chief Brent Pascua, where they had their own reunion, very heartwarming, very emotional meeting. They embraced, and Brent Pascua, that battalion chief who really put all of this into motion, was able to meet Oreo as well. And it has this story, a very, very happy ending during a time when we need as many happy endings as possible.
Look, it's very difficult for me to not get caught up emotionally in this story. I knew about it, yes, and gosh. I could not, because just having two small dogs, it rang too familiar.
Yeah, same.
It was a little too close to home, no pun intended, and those are emotions that I wouldn't want to deal with. Just can't.
I can't imagine. I can't imagine what Casey was going through while waiting to find out whether his dog's what the fate of his dog was. But to have that reunion, again, it was something that I needed to see. It really instilled hope in me. And I think for the millions of people who have now seen the numerous videos of Casey reuniting with Oreo, it does give you just that modicum of hope.
I'm glad that it has a happy ending, but it's not a story that I could just... I couldn't read it. I couldn't watch it because you don't know how the story ends until you're told how the story ends. And I didn't know that it was going to have a happy ending.
I'm glad it did. Something that didn't have a happy ending really speaks to a lot of the scam and fraud that's going on right now. Sadly, people who are devastated by the fires are dealing with scams and frauds. But there are people who are outside of Southern California who continue to be defrauded as well. And this story involves a French woman. Her name is Anne. And this woman was unfortunately scammed out of about $850,000 from a person online pretending to be none other than Brad Pitt. Here's how that happened. So Anne was going through a divorce. She was particularly vulnerable. And last year, she met someone online. They exchanged messages. They flirted and said it was a really nice relationship. The person, this man, spoke to her in ways that she needed to be spoken to. She was swept off of her feet. This wasn't an ordinary man, however. This was, to Anne's knowledge, Brad Pitt. How? Here's how. So if you've ever been online and you wanted verification of something, here's a callback. And let's say you're talking to a person you've never met in person, in reality, you might ask that person to send you a photo of themselves, maybe holding up something that shows the current date. That's a common verification tactic.
Proof of life.
Proof of reality in that very moment. Well, there is artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence can be manipulated to look very much like it is, a live person there, like it is reality. And so this person, this scammer, pretending to be Brad Pitt, used AI doctored images and video, some sort of video that did also show this Brad Pitt character holding up a calendar, a sheet that said, "I love you." And there are numerous images. They're disturbing when you look at them because you can see that it is not quite Brad Pitt. There's something a little off in it.
Wasn't quite right.
Something's not quite right. But Anne, vulnerable, going through a divorce and really hungry for love and attention, bought
Just
the
looked
charade.
up on Brad Pitt.
And here's what, quote unquote, Brad Pitt told her. "Hey, Anne, who I love, I can't get access to my money because of my current divorce with Angelina. I need you to send me money, which amounted to the total of $850,000.
Damn.
And he also said he was battling cancer. So this person, the scammer, really stooped low and preyed upon Anne's compassion and stupidity.
Anne had $850,000 just laying around, or at least available to her.
She was doing pretty well. Woo. But now it's in the hands of this scammer or scammers because Anne fell for it hook, line, and sinker and has not been able to recover the funds.
Again, I don't understand. And evidently Anne did pretty well in life.
Yeah.
And with her money, probably, through other measurements, is a pretty smart woman.
Yeah.
Probably. Okay.
You
You're
would
not,
hope.
Yeah, you're not just going to luck up on $815,000 liquidity. You've done something right in your life.
There's something there.
To then literally risk it all on the idea. Let's say it was actually Brad Pitt. Let's say everything was true. It wasn't, but let's say it was. The whole idea that you're going to let $815,000 go out the door for someone that you've never. $850,000. Well, tomato at that point. It's more than 800,000 for someone that you've never actually met, had coffee with, hung out at a Starbucks for a while. Call back. None of that. It just defies any type of explanation.
And it's beyond gullibility. It is. It really shows to what her mental state was at the time and after as well. The way that Anne found out that this was all a scam, all a ruse, is that she bought it. She continued to buy it into 2024. This is a couple of years worth of sending money back and forth. It was
a long game.
A long game. Well, Anne saw online viral pictures of Brad Pitt with his current girlfriend, and then realized we all did that Brad was not only well, but that he was in a relationship with someone else. So she didn't then think, fortunately, that she was the other woman. She just decided that this was a scam and she cut off all ties. She has since checked herself into a hospital for depression. There's a lot going on.
I'm sympathetic for her, but she thought it was a scam only after seeing Brad with some woman.
Only after he was seen with his current girlfriend.
She didn't think that it might have been a scam after the $850K went out the window with no real confirmation of anything.
Sometimes it makes me feel like I missed my calling as a scammer.
Look, I think it's a criminal. I'm not a criminal. And part of the reason is there's certain places I'm not going to go. I'm not that depraved in mind, whether I would even think to do that, much less try. It's a horrible story.
It is.
And it's a cautionary tale, obviously, for all of us. I don't have $850,000 to give, nor would I. But it does let you know that there are a lot of people out there who are trying to separate you from your money, especially right now as we talk about this against the backdrop of what's happening with the fires, and people are going to try to victimize these same people over and over again. So I think that's the lesson to take away from this.
That is absolutely the lesson. And also to be very wary of things you see online. We always preach media literacy, and AI is very smart. It's probably smarter than you are at this point in being able to separate you from your money. So be very wary of the things that you see.
So I shouldn't believe the email I got from Jennifer Aniston, who said that she likes me.
I mean, you're Mo Kelly. That could very well be feasible.
In my dreams.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Now it's time for the Viral Load with Tiffany. Live on KFI's Later with Mo Kelly. She'll talk about the topics on social media. The Viral Load with Tiffany Hobbs.
KFI AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. It's Later with Mo Kelly, and this is part 2 of the Viral Load. I'm actually watching this story in real time as it unfolds on CNN. And not only is it on CNN, but it's been viral online on pretty much every app right now. This is another story that is emerging out of the fire. And what it involves is a beautiful retro blue Volkswagen van. One of those vans you've seen, very, very iconic, fits the how do you say that word? Iconography of California.
Yeah,
Did I get it? That's a
right.
difficult word, but it definitely fits the backdrop of California. When you think about leisure and surfing and oceans, those VW vans are synonymous with the California lifestyle. And this VW van, this beautiful blue retro vehicle, miraculously survived the deadly Palisades fire. This is what happened. 2 days before the Palisades fire erupted, a man named Preston Martin parked his 1977 VW Type 2 van on a flat spot just up the hill from the Getty Villa.
It looks in good condition.
It's in really good condition. We're watching it here on CNN, and you can Google the images of this van so that you can see exactly what we're talking about. The van miraculously survived the Palisades fire. When you look around the van, it is complete and utter destruction. The homes are leveled, but this van sits in that photo right in the center, a photo that has now gone viral and has been shared millions of times over in plenty of places. And it stands more or less as a symbol of that California resilience, of the resilience that so many Angelenos are experiencing. And so here's some back info about this van. Martin purchased the van sometime around his junior year of college when he was studying engineering at the University of California at Santa Barbara. And after he purchased the van, he then sold it to another person. That person is the current owner of the van. And in that just change of hands, they became friends. But now both of these owners, former and new, are in the spotlight because this van somehow survived what is now being called on CNN as a sea of devastation. It survived the wind. It survived the flames. The van still looks in good condition. They say it is operable. And people are saying that it is a miracle, that it makes no sense.
It looks like they just pulled up to the corner 5 minutes ago. And to think of all the devastation around it, the heat involved, how it destroyed every structure within eyesight around this thing, and it did not melt the tires. It did not scorch the paint. It looks completely untouched. That's the amazing part to me.
And I was skeptical, Mo. I thought perhaps someone did, in fact, pull this van up, that it somehow snuck into this area and was positioned in a way that people could get photos. Well, the AP photographer who was able to catch the photo on the first day that the van was able to be seen once the smoke cleared, verified and validated that the van had been there all along. And I think this is a wonderful ad for Volkswagen when you think about it, at least for their retro series. The next story, the final story, deals with someone you might be familiar with. Many people are. Her name is Little Kim. She's a rapper. She was very popular in the 90s and early 2000s in association with the now scorned P. Diddy, the deceased Notorious B.I.G. She made a really big name for herself as a successful rapper. And she is still in the public eye. People look to her. People follow her. Millions of people follow her on her social media. And Little Kim felt compelled a couple of days ago to send well wishes to the victims of those in the fires around Los Angeles. Unfortunately, her well wishes didn't go as planned because while Little Kim was acknowledging the devastation of the fires, she wished, quote, a monsoon would hit Los Angeles to douse the flames, not quite understanding that a monsoon is also a disaster and would not be a better thing for us to be experiencing in Los Angeles.
I don't dislike Lil' Kim.
I don't dislike her.
She's never been the sharpest pencil in a box.
She meant well, but what do they say about the road to hell? It's paved with good intentions
yeah.
and misspeakings on social media that live in perpetuity. So you really have to be careful because while many were sympathetic, of course, to her misspeaking, to her making that mistake and wanted to educate her, of course, in the responses about what a monsoon actually is. Others were not so kind, called her many really harsh names, and have used this example to kind of throw a lot more dirt on celebrities being tone deaf when these things happen.
I don't think people really understand the power of social media, especially if you're a celebrity. You say something that you would probably say amongst friends. And back in the day, your friends are saying like, you're tripping, you're bugging. And then someone would explain it to you. When you put it out there on social media, talking about something that's viral, which can expand and be sent in an exponential way, I don't see why people haven't figured out, especially when it comes to disasters, you got to be very, very careful. And I'm talking to myself as well. Not all my thoughts are put out on social media. There are a lot of things where it's like backspace, backspace, delete.
Yes.
Cancel message. I do that every single day. So the stuff that I put out there, it's gone through 3 or 4 mental editors.
Yeah. And it should. And again, she meant well, but she made a big mistake. And like many things, if not all things on social media, it will likely live on as long as social media is a thing.
It will be there forever, ever.
Forever, ever.
Forever, ever.
Forever, ever. That's the end of the viral load. But Mo, also, please, guys listening, you can catch me on Saturday from 5 to 7. I'll be continuing to talk about updates with the fire and other stories that are now creeping back into the public sphere. So make sure you listen in 5 to 7 right here on KFI AM 640.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Some of the stories that we picked for the show, I use them as teachable moments. Yes, they may be funny when you just read the headline. Yes, it may be obvious to you and me, but I'm quite sure someone may listen and think like, I don't get it. What's wrong with that? Why can't that person do that? I thought that, it's a free country. Teachable moment. Someone probably didn't know or needs to learn. So that's why we pick some of these stories. They may be funny, but they're also instructive. A flight attendant lost her job, forget this, twerking at work. At work. I'm not talking about a flight attendant who got a little too drunk and loose at the club or the grocery store and did something really stupid and ended up on TikTok. I'm talking about she did this at work, got fired, and then had the dirty nerve to turn around and ask, what's wrong with a little twerk before work? An Alaska Airlines flight attendant, and I know Alaska Airlines is really pleased about being in the news for this. Well, Alaska Airlines former flight attendant was fired for twerking on camera. And she's now created a GoFundMe to support her while she seeks a new job. The crew member, named Nell Diala, had filmed the twerking TikTok video. So number one, she did it at work with the whole Alaska Airlines logo in the background. And then she put it on TikTok while waiting for the captain to arrive on the plane. Quote, I never thought a single moment would cost me everything. Close quote. Let's stop right there. See, this is the teachable moment. If you do really, really stupid stuff, there are stupid consequences awaiting. If you thought that just because it's not illegal to do, that it's a good idea, no. And you need to stop posting your foolishness on social media. If she had just twerked, and I am not recommending this, if she had just twerked and maybe sent it to her boyfriend and say, hey, look what I'm doing, probably no one would have ever known. But instead, she had to literally broadcast it to the world. She left her employer, now former employer, no choice. No choice. She captioned the clip, which also blew up on Instagram. So it was put on TikTok, Instagram. Her caption was ghetto bih, B-I-H, which is slang for itch. Till I die. Don't let the uniform fool you. So she's in uniform. Mm-hmm. She is at work. And she's publicizing and promoting the fact that she's in uniform at work and twerking on the job.
On the plane.
On the plane.
Yes.
And then is somehow surprised that she got fired and is now turning to the public for help. Honestly, if she opened up an OnlyFans page, I'm quite sure she can get the money back because the way they pay at OnlyFans, and she obviously is not ashamed to show her wares or do that kind of stuff. She shouldn't do a GoFundMe, but she doesn't seem all that smart to begin with. Sorry, it was a dumb thing to do.
Look, she could definitely start up a very, very successful OnlyFans page.
Yeah.
Yes. She could. Look, her twerking skills were very robust. She's very practiced in the art.
You're good at whatever you practice.
And I can understand her need to twerk. Sometimes when you're working with all that, you've got to twerk. I'm not mad at that. But at work, no, young lady, no. Not in the center aisle, not in uniform, not for all to see on Alaska Airlines. No company wants that type of press.
Look, if it were McDonald's would have responded the same way.
Yes.
Okay? if it were Walmart and you're at the grocery store and you're twerking over the produce, they would have responded the same way. It does not matter who your employer was. They're just going to be a former employer.
Maybe Waffle House will be okay with it. Waffle House.
You know what?
I've seen some things at Waffle House that people have been, they go to see, the twerking waitress. I think Waffle House is good with that.
Did she do it while the plane's no twerking light was on?
No. The only thing, well, put it this way, there was something else other than the tray table in the seat back, which was in the upright position.
Oh, boy.
I will wait. Thank you very much. Oh,
she's not going to get a job on Virgin.
You win, Mark.
Yeah.
You win.
It's a hollow victory. It's meaningless.
I'm done. KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app. Okay, again, we're going to count to 3, reset. 2001, 2002, 2003.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
KFI Mo Kelly. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app, Coast to Coast AM with George Nori. George, it's good to talk to you again. It's been a minute because some things have been happening, of course, here in Los Angeles. I know you've been following it. You've even been covering it. I wanted to ask you pointedly, is everyone in your family, your friend circle, you maybe even have some property out here. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. I have a guest who lost a house 2 years ago in some of the fires, and he rebuilt in the same spot, and then he got hit again. Unbelievable. But I wanted to congratulate the KFI staff, Mo, and you and Tim and everybody else for just excellent coverage on what a very sad situation.
Well, we appreciate that, but the credit goes to the people who exhibit far more strength and fortitude than just some radio hosts who are coming in and talking for 4 or 5 hours at a time. I appreciate it, but let's put it in its proper perspective.
I get it. The first responders and firefighters are doing a great job out there.
So what's on the show tonight?
Tonight, we're going to talk about some strange mysteries and later on witchcraft on Coast to Coast. We're back.
Hey, it is great to have you back. I'll talk to you again soon, sir.
Okay, buddy.
And before we get out here, look, going back to that story about the flight attendant who got fired for twerking on the job, what's, I think, really bothersome to me, there are plenty of people who probably saw nothing wrong with that and can't understand why she got fired for twerking at all, twerking on the job in uniform, twerking on the job in uniform, and posting it on social media. It seems like folks have gotten social media so twisted, and I say that I get in arguments all the time online where people think like, well, they just have no idea of actions having consequences, behavior having consequences, where you might lose your job. And there's a distinction to be made about people who are doing something not on the clock. Maybe you heard about the Philadelphia Eagles fan who went on this very vulgar rant against a Green Bay Packers fan during the playoff game, and people posted it online. His job found out. He got fired from his job, and people were saying, like, why? He was on his free time. How is it that he's held responsible for what he was doing on his free time? And I said, people don't understand. You are a representative of your company at all times, whether you think so or not. If you're an at-will employee, and many times general workers are, they don't need to give you a reason. They can just say, thank you, goodbye. Either party can terminate that relationship at any time. And if you happen to be under contract like this flight attendant was, there's usually an infamy clause. If you do anything which embarrasses the company that you work for, they can fire you. And I don't understand why so many in this younger generation don't understand that there are consequences to your behavior, especially when it's either in public or you publicize.
The thing that bothers me the most is those in the comment section who try to turn this into some type of attack against womanhood. There were individuals saying things like, once again, men are trying to tell women what they can and can't do with their body. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. If you think a company telling their employee you cannot come to work in uniform, get on board our vehicle, our plane, and twerk and put it up on social media, if you think that's someone trying to come down on femininity, you're insane.
When I talk about this permissive culture, this entitlement culture, and this is the serious portion of the conversation. Yes, we can make all sorts of innuendo and jokes, but there's actually something instructive on all this. If you think that you cannot be held accountable for your own actions, you are in for a hell of a wake-up call throughout life. Throughout life. Not just losing jobs, but you could put yourself in a situation where you're just unhireable. Where no one will be able to want to even get near you and employ you because you keep demonstrating publicly that you don't exercise good judgment. That's what it comes down to. This woman who twerked online, she's going to make it very difficult for her to get an actual job anywhere. Because why? Because when you go for jobs now, they search your name on social media. They look at your social media sites. They look at what you do post. There's no way in the world that anyone's going to hire this woman. Not for the money that she was probably making as an airlines employee with benefits.
Yeah, she's not going over to like Spirit Airline or well,
no.
she may get on JetBlue.
I get the joke, but seriously, no, she's unhireable.
You think there's some airlines their cabin crew does not take themselves seriously.
They may not, but I'm saying, how do you get through the interview process? How do you get through the background check where the first thing that comes up, the first thing which shows up is you twerking in a work uniform while on the clock? How do you explain that away? How do you sit in front of the interviewer and say, so tell me about the thing that you most regret in your employment history? Tell me about the time where you exhibited bad judgment on the job and what you would do differently now. Those are the types of interview questions that you get. And the interviewer knows good and damn well they're waiting for a response to what they saw on social media, which is going to live on forever. Forever. With her name attached to it. Why? Because her dumb ass posted it. Even if she takes it down, it's still there.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mark. Well, let me just say, you don't see people in hot dog on a stick uniforms twerking online, although I would pay good money to see that.
Yeah. All I can say is I remember those days of watching them pound those lemons up and down. They were like...
And dip the hot dogs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Booty shorts that they were wearing, that was intentional. That was I can't say it was sexual harassment, but it was sexual exploitation.
So it's almost like twerking would have been redundant in those uniforms.
Yes, because the shirts were almost designed and fitted like they were corsets.
Back in the old days when our parents and grandparents wore coat and tie, a hat and everything onto an airplane, it was more like a formal thing. You didn't hear a lot about twerking.
And some of those girls would purposely make them shorter or tighter.
Yes.
On purpose.
They knew what they were doing.
They knew what they were doing.
I'm just saying, but that was then. The last time I had hot dog on a stick, I think it was at the Pinners Convention that you and Neil Saavedra were broadcasting. And the uniforms have changed. I don't think they wear...
No, they're looser fitting shorts. They actually come down to their knees.
They're like basketball shorts.
Yes.
They're not what it used to be like. So I'm quite sure someone at Hot Dog on a Stick said, we can't keep doing this, guys. We can't keep sending employees out there looking like they're Hooters waitresses and expect not to get sued.
Well, you got to have standards if you're slinging wieners.
We're done. We are absolutely
done.
Mark. And I'm so glad that I'm not going to be here tomorrow for the fallout. I will see you all on Monday. I will be back on Monday. I'm going to Chicago for a martial arts seminar. So, yeah, Mark.
Enjoy the flight.
KFI AM 640 live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app.
KFI
And KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
Live everywhere.